Hey y'all, and welcome back to another new video. So I'm continuing on with my series on the first Wizarding War today, so if you're not all caught up, definitely go and watch all those other videos, because if you don't, this one's not going to make very much sense. And before we jump in, just a few little reminders. First of all, if you're watching this but you are not subscribed to my channel, it would really mean a lot to me if you would hit subscribe, and also hit that bell notification if you want to be notified anytime that I post. And also, if you're not following me on TikTok, make sure you're doing that. Right now we're in the midst of a little 12 days of Christmas sort of thing over there, where I'm posting Christmassy Harry Potter videos every day. So I have some like DIY ornaments, some recipes, some last minute budget gift ideas for the Harry Potter lover, just a lot of fun. And I'm almost to 100,000 subscribers, and I am really excited to hit that milestone. And I'm also going to do a giveaway when I do. So definitely, yeah, follow me on TikTok if you're not already. And if you didn't know, I also have an Etsy shop where I sell Harry Potter related goods, so I'll link that down below if you're interested. Okay, so without further ado, we can just jump right into the video. And today we're talking about basically the decline of the Death Eaters, what happens to the Death Eaters after Voldemort disappears. So in the immediate aftermath, many were skeptical that Voldemort was actually dead. People thought he was too powerful or not human enough to die like a normal wizard, which obviously they were right, but Aurors, Order members, and Ministry officials searched the country and abroad for him, but found no trace. So eventually they have really no choice but to come to the conclusion that he actually has been defeated. However, his Death Eaters were still at large and considered a threat, so they sort of shifted their attention away from looking for Voldemort to trying to capture and take Death Eaters to trial. So meanwhile, Peter Pettigrew had gone back to the Potter residence and retrieved Voldemort's wand, and his plan was to go into hiding with it. So he knew by now the Order knew he was a traitor, but he was also afraid that the Death Eaters would consider him one as well, since the information he fed to Voldemort ultimately ended up, making Voldemort be defeated. So he was worried that they were going to be mad at him too, so he really knew he had no place to turn, so he was going to disappear. But before he could do this, he is confronted by Sirius Black on the street in London, and the street is full of muggles. I'm not really sure how this happened, how they came to meet here, just accidentally, but either way they did. And so in order to escape, Peter Pettigrew uses Voldemort's wand to create a powerful blasting charm. And in the midst of all the chaos, 12 muggles were killed by this blast, and also he cuts off his index finger and turns into his animagus form, which is a rat, and leaving behind this finger sort of is evidence against Sirius, that Sirius, exploded him and left nothing but a finger. And yeah, so this frames Sirius pretty effectively. So obviously now everybody thinks Sirius Black is a traitor, because remember that only Lily, James, Peter, and Sirius knew that Sirius and Peter had switched, that Peter was actually the Secret Keeper. So Lily and James are dead, Peter appears to be dead, it's Sirius Black's word against no one. Even Dumbledore and Lupin thought that Sirius was their Secret Keeper. So everyone thinks Sirius is a traitor, and now they also think he's a mass murderer because they think he just killed 12 muggles and Peter Pettigrew. So he gets sent straight to Azkaban without even a trial, because they considered him that dangerous. And everyone thought Peter Pettigrew was dead, and he was even unjustly given the award of the Order of Merlin First Class, which is a very big honor in the wizarding community, for his supposed willingness to stand up for his friends. So, obviously he did not deserve that. And around this time, many Death Eaters are captured by Aurors and then put on trial, and some of them are in prison, some of them aren't. So Dumbledore gave a personal testimony in Snape's favor, basically saying he was a double agent, he was working for us, and so Snape doesn't go to Azkaban. And then Snape gets hired as the potions master at Hogwarts, and he replaces Slughorn, who had just retired that year. So Fenrir Greyback and the other werewolves go back underground, so none of them get put into Azkaban, and the few remaining giants left Britain and set up the last remaining giant colony in rural Denmark. So they all fled the country as well. And Igor Karkaroff gets out of Azkaban by basically giving up Augustus Rookwood. And remember that Augustus Rookwood was a ministry official who had set up that secret, espionage spy network inside the ministry. So Igor Karkaroff then flees the country and eventually becomes the headmaster of Durmstrang, which is in Eastern Europe, so he kind of starts a new life. And a subsequent investigation into Rookwood's spy network leads to a lot of individuals being questioned. And then, so some Death Eaters did manage to walk free. So the Malfoys are, one of the main examples of this. They claim to have been under the Imperius Curse, which is a smart defense to use, because a lot of innocent people were forced to do things they wouldn't have done under the Imperious Curse. And so many innocent people were freed from the clutches of the Imperious Curse, but others, like the Malfoys, just used it as a false excuse. But either way, they got away with it and got to, move on with their life. Others used their wealth and power to get out of trouble. But basically, of like the people we hear about in the story, and I'm sure there are more, but the Malfoys, Knots, Averys, Crabs, Goyles, and Gibeons were all cleared. And the Carrows, Forthin, Rowell, Selwyn, and Jungson were all sent to Azkaban. And many of those that were cleared, like all the lists I just listed, they assumed that Voldemort was dead. And they just kind of moved on with their life like nothing happened. But not all of the Death Eaters gave up the cause. So Bellatrix, Rodolphus, and Rabastin Lestrange, along with Barty Crouch Jr., kidnapped and tortured Alice and Frank Longbottom with the Cruciatus Curse until they went insane. And basically they did this because for some reason, I mean, the four of them were crazy, but I don't really understand why they thought this, but they thought for some reason that Alice and Frank Longbottom knew where Voldemort was. I don't know if they thought this just because they were sort of like high-ranking Aurors and they maybe thought they had inside information. But Alice and Frank didn't know that, so they couldn't give them any information. And so they tortured them until they went insane and were no longer like able to live in society. So they had to go and live in St. Mungo's permanently, and Neville went to live with his grandmother. I saw some TikTok comments saying that people thought that Alice and Frank were dead, and they were not dead. We do see them at one instance in the book. So we know that they're alive, but they are just permanently unable to take care of themselves because they've lost their minds. So they live in St. Mungo's, but they are alive. They're just not really functioning people anymore, which honestly, like, might be worse than being dead, but I don't know. I've never been dead or insane, so I don't know. But eventually all four of those Death Eaters that did that were captured by Aleister Moody and Kingsley Shacklebolt and were sent to Azkaban. And Barty Crouch Sr. was so disgusted that his own son had been part of this that he gave all four of them a life sentence to imprisonment in Azkaban. And Bellatrix proudly proclaimed her loyalty and declared that the Dark Lord would return even as she was being dragged away by Dementors. So she was really loyal, I guess you could say. And that is where we will stop today, and in next week's video I think it will probably be the last video of this series, and I'll just sort of wrap up all the aftermath. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this series on the First Wizarding War. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, another series or just single video ideas. Yeah, so let me know, and until next time, bye y'all.